Good morning, everyone. I want to call to order the meeting of the Citizen Redistricting Committee. My name is Edward Chavez. I am the chair of the Citizens Redistricting Committee. To begin the meeting, I would like to just call roll. Ryan Cangelosi. Ryan Cangelosi, are you present? The Honorable Lisa Curtis.
Present.
Good morning.
Morning.
Robert Radigan.
Present.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Joaquin Sanchez. He notified me yesterday that he would not be able to attend. He was called back to school to prepare a math agenda, so he won't be able to join us. The Honorable Michael Sanchez. The Honorable Michael Sanchez. Are you present? Christopher Salcedo.
Present.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Let me ask again, Ryan Cangelosi. And again, the Honorable Michael Sanchez. There are 4 of us present, and that makes it for a quorum. The second item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. There's one addition I would like to make to the agenda, and just to be clear that when we begin discussion of the committee schedule, I would like to hear comments from the public. With that, I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Thank you. Next, moving to the approval of the minutes of the July 2nd committee meeting. Have you all had an opportunity to review them?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I want to propose some changes to the agenda, to the minutes on page 2 of the minutes, item number 3, line about 4 down. It states that I proposed meetings during August 2 through 13, then September 23 through October 7. The actual dates for the second round of meetings was September 27 to October 8th. And that's supported by the schedule that was in the materials. So I think it's just a typographical error. Right? So I propose that revision. The next revision is on page 4 of the minutes. Third bullet point, James Povija, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I believe the word opposed is missing before the word proposed. My memory is that he did oppose the ex parte rule. Next on page 8 of the agenda, well, excuse me, I guess it'd be page 6. Page 8 on your packet, committee members. Right before paragraph number 6, I would add in the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5th line, after noted that, I would add the words, with the permission of the CRC, he would continue, end quote, to discuss the scope of work with Harvard Law School's election law clinic. My recollection is that I sought the permission of the CRC and that I was granted permission. Anybody else have any other corrections or additions to the agenda? I mean, to the minutes, sorry about that. There being none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Unanimously approve the minutes as amended. The next item on the agenda is the committee schedule. I actually made a mistake in what I had proposed as a schedule because for some reason, I thought that we had agreed to go into the weekends for both rounds, but reading the minutes, it was for the first set of meetings that we would go Saturdays and Sundays. So the schedule that I have submitted actually proposes to go into the weekends through October 10th, so we could change that to October 8th. I do have a conflict on the 9th in any event. But what I am proposing as a schedule for the next round of meetings is on September 16th that we have a Zoom meeting to discuss the issuance of initial map concepts to be published for public input. And that would be after we have received the public input on communities of interest and other information the public wants to give us. Then we would just propose some concepts to be published again for more public input. Having done that, we would then have to publish those concepts 10 days before the first meeting in September. So I would propose that, like we approved at the last meeting, that we begin September 27th to obtain more input from the public. I wanted to discuss with you the venues to see if you all wanted to propose any changes in venues. I would like to add Crown Point, the Navajo Technical University, as a venue, one of the venues on tribal lands. I reached out to Mr. Gorman to confirm that, or try to ascertain what date they would prefer. I have not heard back yet, but that would be my only suggestion, that maybe we not go to the IPCC, but instead go to Crown Point. Does anybody have any other suggestions you'd like to make for venues? And let me know if you have any conflicts during September 27th for any of these dates, frankly, on the schedule.
So, so Chair, I just want to make sure I'm following you. So are you saying that you're proposing a meeting at Crown Point instead of it being a satellite for the San Juan County meeting?
Here's what I have proposed is to Mr. Leonard, and have not heard back, is I thought that because we had already booked the San Juan venue, that we use Crown Point during this first round of meetings as a satellite. Not heard back on whether or not that would be a go. I know that Mr. Kiley is in touch with Mr. Gorman's office as well, and so we're just trying to get confirmation whether or not they want to use that as a satellite. But I also proposed to him that we then, in the second round of meetings, actually go to Crown Point. And I would say in lieu of the Indian Pueblo Council in Albuquerque. You follow?
I am now. I appreciate the clarification. Have we asked for input from any of the other pueblos or tribal nations for their thought about going specifically to Crown Point instead of going to the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center here in Albuquerque?
Well, we have sought the input, and so that's why we're going to the Indian Pueblo Council for the first round of meetings. But I wanted to accommodate Crown Point in the Northwest for a live meeting, and that's why I'm proposing to go to Crown Point for the second round of meetings.
Okay,
And
thanks for the
we're
clarification.
pretty heavy in Albuquerque, I think, for meetings. So I'd like to go to the Northwest if you all approve.
I agree. I think that's a good change.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm fine with that as well, but I have one other question, and perhaps I just need clarification.
Sure.
September 17th, I actually do have a conflict, but I'm looking at it. What exactly will the committee be doing? What work will the committee be doing on the 17th, or is that simply a date of publish?
That's a date of publication. I wanted that in there so that you would see why it is that I had wanted to start on September 27th.
Fair enough, but to be clear then, so we will not actually meet as a committee, because again, that I do have a conflict that day, so I just want to make sure I am clear.
We will not meet that day.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate the clarification.
I would also like to, is Ryan Satteroff on, Sonny? Would you unmute him and let's see if he can give us some input on these meetings, because he's the one that's going to be responsible for helping develop the concepts.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Last night at the training session, we heard from a member from the California Independent Commission, and he was bemoaning the fact that they only had 7 months to draw the initial maps. And so here we're looking at a number of weeks. But that is what the deck you've been dealt. You've been dealt it by the fact that the Census Bureau is many months late in releasing the data that we still don't have. You have a very condensed time frame. You've set aggressive meetings for phase 1 and phase 2. And we will do our best to satisfy the staff requests, us staffing your needs and wishes and the public's, and get it done. I guess that's the best we can say. We have the capabilities to do it under your direction. The Census Bureau still saying maybe by August 16th, we'll get the data. Then, as you know, 10 days or so to process it, add in all the precinct splits that have to be done. Maybe we'll have a file that everyone can work with, including the public, by the end of the month of August. And then we'll have a number of weeks for people, both the public and yourselves, to draw plans. We like the idea that you're calling what will be published as concepts. The concepts are just more general. They can be fine-tuned, but getting the concepts out there is a good deal. And then there's a number of weeks for committee input and public input in the process.
So,
You were muted there, Mr. Chair.
all right. Anything else, Brian?
No, I think unless there are any questions.
Okay. Sonny, how can the public signify that they would like to comment about the schedule?
So for individuals who'd like to provide public comment on the schedule, you can indicate your interest in making a comment by raising your hand on the Zoom interface that's at the bottom of the screen towards the middle. And if you're on the phone, you would press *9 on your keypad, and that would raise your hand. And it looks like we've already got a few folks here. And just a housekeeping note, I'm not going to call on folks who have their name listed as an alias, just because that's a measure that we're taking to prevent Zoom bombing. So if you'd like for me to call on you, even if after you've indicated your hand being raised, please rename yourself. You do have the ability to rename yourself. And I'll just go in order of folks who are raising their hand. It looks like Mr. Richard Mason has raised his hand. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute.
Yes, this is Dick Mason from the League of Women Voters. Last night, on when we were doing a training on districtor. The question came up about, have you set a deadline of when the public can give input on the maps that are going to be finalized in September? So is there a deadline for them to submit alternative maps yet, or will that be set later?
We do not have a deadline set, Mr. Mason.
Okay, thank you.
Again, if any other individuals would like to make a public comment, simply press the raise hand icon at the bottom or press *9 on the keypad of your phone. And Justice Chavez, I'm not seeing any other public comments at the moment.
Thank you, Sonny. Getting back to the members, you see the schedule before you. And I just would like a motion to approve setting meetings for the second round from September 27th through October 8th. We'd already approved that, but I want to confirm that during this meeting. And then I want to also confirm the other meetings that are here September 16th so that we can discuss the issuance of the initial map concepts. We also need a meeting to, once we have heard additional public input on the concepts, we need a meeting to adopt maps to be recommended to the legislature. And that date is proposed to be October 15th. And then October 29th, we would have a Zoom meeting to adopt evaluations of the maps to be recommended to the legislature. Once we adopt the maps, we have to evaluate them, and I would like to have a public meeting just to explain our evaluations. Does that work for everybody? If so, I would entertain a motion.
I'd move that we adopt the schedule as presented.
Is there a second?
There may be a problem that the panel members can't unmute themselves.
There we go. Yes, seconded. Thank you, Sonny.
Senator Sanchez, have you joined us?
I finally was able to log in.
Thank you, sir. Let the record reflect that the Honorable Michael Sanchez has joined the meeting. Do you have any questions, Senator Sanchez, about the schedule?
I do not, other than, as I explained, that being a sole practitioner and being the only attorney in my office, it has created some conflicts that I'm trying to work through. And I'm hoping other lawyers and judges understand the dilemma, but we'll see as we go along.
I appreciate the efforts you are making, and I would like to state to the committee members, although we definitely have a preference for all of us to be present at these meetings, if you have a conflict that makes it difficult for you to get to a meeting and you want to attend by Zoom, you are welcome to do so.
Thank you, Justice Chow.
So there is a pending motion to adopt the schedule as presented. The only clarification being that it would be meetings, public meetings between September 27th and October 8th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Does anybody abstain? It's unanimous. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to review the budget. The reason I wanted to review the budget with you is on July 2nd, I proposed a budget which was approved by the committee. Except I didn't have the detail that I wanted it to have. And so what I've done is I have prepared a budget that is very detailed, and it provides for all of the services that we have tried to pursue. And it begins with translation services. And I've discovered it's more difficult to obtain translation and interpretation services than what I had thought. I do have a contract for Navajo translation and interpretation, and they are working with Districtor to not only translate the videos, but also to do a voiceover on that. I am working to get some Spanish translation and voiceover, but it requires some effort because the translation, and then there's a separate individual that would have to do the voiceover. So I am working on that, but we do have $19,000 remaining there that is unaccounted, that is not allocated at present. I have listed everything in detail for the round trip mileage for the staff, and also for the per diem and mileage for board members. I left in the attorney fee, $350 per hour for 250 hours, and technical support. We now have Professor Cottrell, who will do the work for us, and we've allocated a specific amount for that. And then each venue is charging. The only venue I still don't have information on is Crown Point Navajo Technical University, but I will get that information and include it in the budget. I do have advertising and public outreach still at $100,000, and that brings, all of this may change, but what we have as a balance is $4,708.44. I'm a little uncomfortable with that. I wanted 10% available to us as reserves. You know, we're going to have supplies and other things, but that's where we are at. And so I wanted to answer any questions you might have regarding the budget. I think Member Curtis, I believe you wanted to talk about the advertising and the public outreach.
Yes, Mr. Chair, my question was, you know, it was really valuable. The trainings have been really valuable, and listening to the other independent commission members that we heard from last night, how to do outreach in such a short timeline, whether part of that outreach budget would be appropriately spent on a public relations person that was specifically set out as their, you know, sole job to make sure that we have public input, both at the meetings and on our other platforms. And so I sent a person, and I've actually sent out some feelers for other people that might be available for that job. I don't know how the commission feels about this. It was just because we asked those other commissioners, how did they accomplish their outreach? Arizona being again a much smaller state in area, but many more people still sought and needed a public relations person to accomplish outreach. So, and that we don't have the $1 million that was donated to the California Independent Commission to do outreach. And so anyway, that was, I just wanted to raise that one issue, and I appreciate, Mr. Chair, you highlighting that in the budget, because I did have a question whether that might be something that we need to, or a person that we need to add.
Thank you. I can tell you what I've been working on within the authority that you all gave me. I've been working with Vox Optima. That's a PR firm. It's a woman in service disabled veteran-owned small business. It's a full-service firm. It does public relations work. Merritt Allen is actually the owner of Vox Optima, and she also participated in the New Mexico First redistricting effort. So she's familiar with redistricting, understands it. She did some public relations for New Mexico First over the last several months. And so she would be one individual that would actually be responsible for what I will call the advertising part of it, which is promoting the meetings and I've encouraged the members of this committee to actually participate in any talk shows or radio shows, etc. She would coordinate all that. She would help with messaging. I believe all that falls under advertising. The other aspect that I think is just as important, perhaps even more critical, is having what I will call a community liaison. And I think the engagement and building trust with the public is very important. And I have a proposal from Lily Urban Vitella that would reach out to at least 100 community-based regional and statewide organizations that are geographically, politically, and economically and culturally diverse. And I think reaching out to them would allow them to have a meaningful engagement, because I think engagement by the community is best achieved with personal outreach. And I think that would really benefit us. She could build the efficacy of the meetings. She could help support the stakeholders with communicating their needs and their interests to inform our decision-making. I think that would be invaluable. She could conduct information sessions about the Redistricting Act, current political district maps, the Voting Rights Act, communities of interest, even helping with mapping and navigating districtor. So I think that sort of individual is also key. I would use the community liaison individual to also help with the meetings to foster the participation, make sure that everybody has a full and fair opportunity to make their presentation. Would use them to help train facilitators that would go to the satellite facilities and train them on how to facilitate, maybe using graduate students at universities and graduates in poli-sci or graduates in information technology. So I've been working on that, and I think we can get this accomplished. The community liaison, we can get done on a small purchases agreement for less than 60,000, and the advertising under 13,198. I think we can accomplish that as well for close to the budget allocated amount of 100,000. I hope that helps answer the question. So I have been working on that. In fact, I was hoping to have all that done 2 weeks ago, for them to begin 2 weeks ago. I have held off purposefully because we received responses to the request for proposals for lawyers, and we will have to make a decision about that. And that may very well affect the budget. And that's why I haven't gotten them to work yet. But I have sent information to the Legislative Counsel Service to at least begin drafting a contract in the event that we can move forward with public relations and a community liaison. Any other questions from the committee on the budget?
Mr. Chair, two things. First, actually more for Sunny. I just received a text message from Ryan Tagliosi, and he is on, but he is muted. So just putting that out there. Second, I appreciate that description, because quite frankly, that was my question. The public outreach or advertising $100,000 plus item without detail. I appreciate the detail. So I think we can continue the discussion perhaps when we discuss the legal counsel, how best to use the money.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I have done some outreach. I've talked to New Mexico Public Broadcasting, Mr. McDonald, and they've agreed to live stream all of our meetings. They're also going to use their promotional department to promote the meetings. And so I think that's going to be helpful. I've sent information regarding meetings to lots of different organizations and have been in touch with them, just trying to promote our meetings and promote our input portal. Hey, Mr. Cangelosi?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm unmuted now. I'm here in Hawaii with the Navy Reserve, and I was having a little difficulties logging in, but I'm logged in now. So thank you, sir.
I'm not sure, yeah, you're the second member who's had difficulty logging in, so hopefully we'll work on that in the future. Do you have any questions about the budget?
I do not.
Okay, we approved a schedule already, but do you know if you have any conflicts during those scheduled meetings? And you're welcome to let me know after.
Yeah, it wasn't letting me unmute. No, I'm good with the schedule right now.
Great, thank you. Okay, there being no other questions on the budget, I think we can move to the next item on the agenda. And for that item, I will need a motion to go into closed session under section 1015(1)(h)(6), because we will be discussing the contents of competitive sole proposals received in response to the RFP for lawyer services. We extended it for another week and we did receive responses. So I do need a motion to go into closed session.
So
Is there a
So
second?
moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is anybody opposed? Does anybody abstain? Unanimously, we will go into closed session. Sunny, can you arrange to send us into a breakout room?
Certainly, Justice Chavez, give me one moment. I'm adding everybody now. One moment.
Sunny, will you confirm for me when we are back in the general session?
Yes, Justice Chavez. So you should all be rejoining shortly. It'll just take a minute to get everybody here. Okay, Justice Chavez, I believe we have everybody back. For committee members, please note that muting is one directional. So once you mute yourself, I would have to unmute you again. So if, and I'll do my best to be attentive to that. But I think looks like you may have that ability if it's like a repeated thing in your panel. So
Yeah, I actually made that mistake earlier, Sunny, as I muted myself and then needed you to help me out. Okay, are we back in general session, Sunny?
yes, Justice Chavez.
Thank you. We are out of executive session, back in general session. And member Lisa Curtis, do you have a motion?
Yes, Chair. I'd make the motion to accept the legal proposals submitted by the Rothstein and Nielsen firms giving authority to the chair to negotiate the legal fees up to 150,000 inclusive of gross receipts tax.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I know item 7 and 8 on the agenda, actually, the motion you made would actually combine most of those items on the agenda. I just want to state that for the record. We would be receiving the proposal that was submitted in response to the RFP, and then the actions regarding the contract would authorize me to engage in negotiations. Just to make that point. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, let's go by roll call. Beginning with Mr. Cangelosi.
Aye.
Member Curtis.
Aye.
Member Radigan.
Aye.
Member Michael Sanchez.
Yes.
Member Christopher Salcedo.
Yes.
And the chair will vote yes as well. All right. I think that's it for the committee's agenda items. Now let's go to any public comments.
So to indicate that you would like to provide a public comment, please raise your hand. I know that Judith Binder has had her hand up for a moment here, so I'm going to go ahead and get to her first. If you're calling in from a phone, please press *9. And after that, I'll unmute you. And please also note to have your name fully displayed. And if you're calling from a phone, please state your name for the record. All right, so Judith Binder, I'm going to ask you to start your video and unmute you now.
Well, I've been trying to get onto this thing for I don't know how long, and I've missed the first part. However, I had worked for Dr. Donald Morrison for many years ago, and he presented a program for redistricting that was vetoed by a former governor because it was too fair. Has that program been acknowledged, or have any of your committee have interest in that program that he presented? Or do you know about it? His idea was to choose a precinct with the lowest population in the number of districts that were necessary for the particular office being redistricted, and annexing the next lowest precinct to each of those precincts across the state until the number was reached that formed either the House of Representatives or our Senate for the state. Has anybody looked into that program? Are you hearing me?
This is Lisa Curtis. Ms. Binder, is
Yeah.
Binder how I say that? Thank you. I'm not familiar with that. I of course would be happy to take a look at that. Is that something that you could make available to us, or where would you recommend that we?
I would suggest you go to the state offices. Right now, the man's name has not in my memory, but where all the documents that, what would it be called at the state? It's the office of where all the documents are kept, and he would know about it. And unfortunately, I've had so much frustration trying to get into the program that everything else has left my mind, and I apologize. But at my age, I think it's acceptable.
Well, how about we will,
I
I will undertake to try to figure out how to get access to that.
I have it in my computer someplace else, but I just want to concentrate on hearing what you folks are talking about at this point. I missed the whole beginning because I could not get into the program. So I will listen, and then I will get back to you, Ms. Curtis. I will send you an email.
Please, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Justice Chavez, she might be talking about Bureau of Vital Statistics. I'm not sure that that's what she's talking about, but that's the one place that may have different documents. Ms. Binder Does that help you any, the Bureau of Vital Statistics?
No, it's not that one. It's where the legislature goes to do its own research. The legislative,
Council Service,
that's it. And the director of that is,
Raul Burciaga,
and who was the former one?
Paula Tackett.
No, neither of those names ring a bell, but I'll do the research. I'll get back to Ms. Curtis.
Thank you, Ms. Binder.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Binder. I'm going to go ahead and,
Actually, it seemed to me that Tom Garrity should know of the name, and yes, at least, and Dick Mason. Both of those gentlemen were present at the time that Dr. Morrison presented his program.
thank you, Ms. Binder. I'm going to go ahead and mute you and stop your video now.
Okay.
Mr. Mason, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you and start your video now.
Yes, hello. This is Dick Mason with the League of Women Voters of New Mexico. I have a question. There seems to be a conflict between the law, SB 304, Section 2, Section 8A. The law reads, proposed redistricting plans to be considered by the legislature shall not be composed of districts that split precincts. And then in the rules, Rules 8, districts should be composed of entire precincts, provided that district plans may split precincts if and only if necessary to comply with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 as amended. This was a big priority for advocates to be able to split precincts, particularly to deal with chapter houses in the Navajo Nation. But from what I understand, we did not get that in the legislation.
You're right about that, Mr. Mason. The legislature in New Mexico does not allow splitting of precincts. There is a question of federal supremacy and whether or not, in order to comply with the Voting Rights Act, you must absolutely split a precinct. So that's a very difficult thing to prove, that you cannot satisfy the Voting Rights Act without splitting precincts. It's been done in the past. It was done 10 years ago. It was done 20 years ago.
Okay.
About splitting precincts. So I think that rule just basically has that, I guess, just to indicate that the Voting Rights Act might come into play.
I hope so, because we wanted it in the legislation, but thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mason, I'm going to go ahead and mute you and stop your video now. Justice Chavez, I don't see any other hands up at this time. Again, folks, one last reminder, if you'd like to provide public comment, please indicate so by pressing raise hand at the bottom of the Zoom screen or pressing *9 on the keypad of your phone.
You're muted, Sonny, but I saw your lips moving.
I don't see any other public comments at this time, Justice Chavez.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
This is Michael Sanchez. I would so move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Unanimously, we are adjourned. Thank you so much for a very thoughtful meeting. And we
Thank
will
you,
see you next time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Have a
Chair.
good day.